Tick-tock. Tick-tock. We've all heard it, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
That metaphorical sound in the back of our minds, the biological clock.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone thinking about starting a family, maybe a little later in life, that ticking is probably the single most persistent background noise in your head. It's the soundtrack of modern anxiety.
It really is. And it's so stressful because we're taught, culturally and medically, that biology is this fixed, rigid timeline.
Right. It's a one-way street.
Exactly. You have a peak, you have a plateau, and then there's this steep decline.
Yeah.
And the message is there's nothing you can do about the slope of that curve.
Exactly. We just accept decline like it's a law of physics. Mm-hmm. But what if that clock isn't as, analog as we think? What if it's digital?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what if the batteries are just running low?
I like that.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into nutraceuticals. And before you roll your eyes, we are not talking about eating your greens or some vague wellness advice like reduce stress.
No, we are definitely not talking about having a side salad and hoping for the best.
We're looking at a stack of research that suggests we can actually sort of biohack fertility. We're talking about specific bioactive compounds at therapeutic doses used to potentially turn back the clock on our reproductive cells.
It's a fascinating field, it really is, because it sits right on that razor's edge between, say, nutrition and pharmacology.
Right.
We're looking at how these compounds treat what's clinically called advanced maternal age, or AMA, and, crucially, the often overlooked male fertility factors.
Which is a huge piece of the puzzle we just tend to ignore. But we will get to the guys in a bit.
We will.
To guide us, we're digging into this massive review from the Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness. And these aren't Instagram influencers.
Right.
These are veterans. They've been in the reproductive field for 28 years. And this review, it incorporates meta-analyses all the way up to 2025.
So this is fresh data. This is really the cutting edge of what we know right now.
Very fresh. And the mission today is to decode the ultimate supplement stack. But we need to be specific about who this is for. This isn't necessarily for, the 22-year-old with zero health issues.
Right. The scope of this research is very, very targeted. We're focusing on women over 35.
Okay.
Women who are dealing with low ovarian reserve and poor egg quality. And for the men, we're looking at the specific mechanics: sperm count, shape, movement, and the integrity of the DNA itself.
So basically, how to build a better egg and better sperm from the inside out. Let's start with the ladies. Segment 1, the engine of the egg.
The engine is the perfect metaphor here, because when we talk about women over 35, advanced maternal age, the core problem isn't usually that they've run out of eggs completely. I mean, yes, the reserve does go down.
But you don't need a million eggs to have a baby, you just need one good one.
Precisely. The problem is that the quality drops. And we really need to understand why it drops if we want to fix it.
Okay.
And the root causes are, very often, mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress.
Okay, let's pause there. Mitochondrial dysfunction. I remember from high school biology that mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell.
Yep.
I feel like that's the one thing everyone remembers.
And that's still true, but the stakes here are so much higher. Think of the egg cell, the oocyte, as this massive manufacturing plant.
Right.
It's actually one of the largest cells in the human body.
Mm.
And to divide and create an embryo, it needs a colossal amount of energy.
And that energy comes from the mitochondria.
It does. But as we age, those mitochondria, the batteries, they start to wear out.
They just hold less of a charge.
They hold less charge, and they produce energy less efficiently. And that brings us to our first star player in this deep dive. Coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10?
I see CoQ10 everywhere now. It's in skin cream, it's in energy drinks. Why is it the heavy hitter for fertility specifically?
Because it is literally the fuel component for those mitochondrial batteries. It supports the production of ATP, that's cellular energy, directly inside the oocytes. The source material highlights a randomized controlled trial that's really compelling because it connects that energy directly to outcomes.
Okay, so walk me through the numbers. Are we talking about a marginal gain, like 1% better, or does it actually move the needle?
It moves the needle.
Yep.
They found that a daily dose of 200 to 600 milligrams of CoQ10 significantly improved ovarian response. But here's the kicker.
Yeah.
It improved embryo quality in IVF cycles for women over 35.
So it's not just about getting an egg, it's about getting an egg that can actually do the job.
Exactly. And so what here is huge. By boosting that mitochondrial function, you're potentially reducing something called aneuploidy.
Aneuploidy, that's the technical term for chromosomal abnormalities, right? Like trisomies, things like that.
Right. It's when an egg has the wrong number of chromosomes, too many or too few.
Yes.
This is the leading cause of miscarriage and failed implantation in older women.
And this connects back to the energy thing. This is the part that just blows my mind, the connection between energy and genetics.
Well, it's a physical process. Imagine the cell trying to divide. It has to physically pull the chromosomes apart into two perfect sets. That takes mechanical strength.
Okay.
If the batteries are low, if the mitochondria are dysfunctional, the cell physically can't pull them apart correctly. You get an error.
That is wild. So a miscarriage or a failure to implant isn't necessarily because the DNA was bad from the start.
Yeah.
It's because the cell was just too tired to process it.
There's a very accurate way to visualize it.
Yeah.
CoQ10 gives the cell the energy drink it needs to complete that mechanical separation perfectly.
Okay, that makes CoQ10 a non-negotiable in my book. Now, the next one on the list was a total surprise to me. Myo-inositol.
Yes.
I always thought this was exclusively for women with PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome.
You and most of the medical world for a long time. It's famous for helping with insulin resistance and PCOS. But the Berkeley Center review is very clear.
Yeah.
This is a powerhouse for non-PCOS women, too, especially those of advanced maternal age.
But if you don't have insulin resistance, why would you take it? What's the mechanism if it's not fixing sugar levels?
Well, it does regulate insulin, which is, generally good for reducing systemic inflammation.
Yeah.
But it does something else very specific to the ovaries. It enhances follicle-stimulating hormone signaling, FSH signaling.
Okay, let's unpack that. FSH is the hormone the brain sends down to tell the ovaries, hey, get an egg ready.
Correct. As women get older, their ovaries can become a bit deaf to FSH. The brain is screaming, make an egg.
Yeah.
And the ovaries are just barely hearing it. Myo-inositol acts like a hearing aid. It helps the ovary hear the signal to mature the egg.
That is a great analogy. It just amplifies the signal without you having to pump in more hormones. Does the data back this up?
It does. There was a trial mentioned in the review, and it was focused on women aged 30 to 42 who were classified as poor responders.
Meaning their ovaries weren't reacting well to the IVF drugs.
Exactly. So they gave one group myo-inositol and the other group nothing.
And the result?
The group taking myo-inositol had an 80.5% mature oocyte rate.
Wow. Wait, what was the control group?
The group that didn't take it was at 66.6%.
That is, statistically significant doesn't even cover it. That's a massive difference when you're fighting for every single good egg.
That is the difference between having an embryo to transfer and going home empty-handed.
Right.
And the dosage suggested in the source is fairly high, about 2 to 4 grams daily.
So again, not a sprinkle. This is therapeutic dosing.
Exactly. It needs to be high enough to change the chemical signaling environment in the ovary.
Okay, so we've got CoQ10 for energy, myo-inositol for the signal. Now let's talk about something a bit more intense. DHEA.
Yes, dehydroepiandrosterone. This one is different because it isn't a vitamin or a nutrient from food. It's a hormone precursor.
Meaning it turns into other hormones.
Right. It turns into estrogen and testosterone in the body.
I think people get nervous when they hear testosterone and women in the same sentence. They think, facial hair, voice changes.
It's understandable. But ovaries actually need androgens like testosterone to function. They are crucial for the very early stages of follicle development, months before the egg is even released.
So DHEA is like the raw material for those hormones.
Precisely. For women with low ovarian reserve, DHEA acts to augment those androgen levels directly in the ovaries. This stimulates what's called follicular recruitment.
It wakes up more sleepy eggs to enter the race.
That's a great way to put it because usually a lot of those eggs would just stay dormant and eventually die off.
You want to recruit them into the active pool so you can use them.
Correct.
And what does the science say about the outcome? Do you actually get more eggs?
The meta-analyses show that supplementation at 25 to 75 milligrams daily actually increases AMH levels.
AMH is anti-Müllerian hormone. That's the standard blood test for ovarian reserve.
Yes. And seeing that number go up is very encouraging. It indicates a better egg yield.
Yeah.
But a quick note, because this is hormonal, this is definitely one where you want to be precise with that 25 to 75 milligram window. More is not always better with hormones.
Right. You don't want to throw the balance off in the other direction.
Exactly. Monitoring is key.
So that's the female side of the equation. We've biohacked the egg to be energetic, responsive, and abundant. But as the source material points out, we're only looking at half the picture.
That's right. We need to talk about the men.
Segment 2. The male factor. I think the stat shocked me the most. The source says male factor infertility accounts for 40 to 50% of cases.
It's almost half. Yet think about the burden of treatment. IVF, the shots, the egg retrieval, the emotional roller coaster. It all falls disproportionately on the woman.
It does.
But the biology of sperm is just as complex and just as susceptible to aging and damage.
There's this myth that men can just reproduce forever, right? Like, oh, Picasso had a kid when he was 80.
Right, but we don't know how long that took or what the health of that process was. Sperm quality definitely declines with age and lifestyle.
So when we look at sperm, what are we actually measuring? Is it just the count?
We call them the big three. Count. So how many are there? Morphology, what's their shape? And motility. How well are they moving?
Okay.
But there's a fourth hidden factor that the source emphasizes heavily: DNA fragmentation.
Which is basically, is the genetic payload inside intact or is it broken?
Exactly. You can have a sperm that looks perfect under a microscope. It swims fast, it hits the egg, it fertilizes.
But if the DNA payload inside is fragmented or broken, the embryo will eventually arrest.
Yes, it can lead to failed fertilization or miscarriage later on.
So the man's health directly impacts miscarriage risk. I feel like that is not talked about nearly enough.
It really isn't. We often look at the woman when a miscarriage happens, but the error could easily have come from the sperm's DNA payload.
So how do we supercharge the sperm? How do we fix that payload?
Well, sperm are essentially little motors with a backpack full of DNA. So, like the eggs, they need fuel. And that brings us to L-carnitine.
I've heard of this in gym supplements. It's for fat burning, right?
It makes sense. In the body, L-carnitine is a transport molecule. I like to think of it as a fuel tanker. It moves fatty acids into the mitochondria to be burned for energy.
So for sperm, this means more speed.
Speed and stamina. The source notes that 2 to 3 grams of L-carnitine daily significantly improves sperm velocity. That's motility and even morphology, the shape.
So it helps them swim straighter and faster?
Correct. And guess who makes a comeback here?
Let me guess. CoQ10.
The battery charger returns. It works exactly the same way in men. The sperm tail needs massive amounts of ATP to whip back and forth to swim that distance.
It's a long journey.
It's a very long journey relative to their size. The review cites 2025 meta-analyses showing that 200 to 300 milligrams, sometimes up to 600, boosts concentration and motility.
It's nice to know there's a supplement you can just share. Here, honey, take your CoQ10.
It is efficient. But men do have a specific builder nutrient that is just critical, and that's zinc.
Zinc seems like such a basic mineral. We take it for colds.
It is fundamental. It's essential for testosterone production. Without enough zinc, you simply cannot make healthy sperm. It's like trying to build a car without any steel.
Is there a specific combo that works best?
Yes, the data points to combining zinc about 15 to 30 milligrams with folic acid. That combination has been shown in meta-analyses to enhance sperm concentration and structural integrity.
So zinc builds the car, and L-carnitine and CoQ10 put the gas in the tank.
That is a great way to put it.
All right, let's move to segment 3, the universal protectors. These are the nutrients that appeared on both lists in our source material, the stuff that everyone should probably be taking.
And first up is omega-3 fatty acids, specifically from fish oil.
I feel like omega-3s are good for everything, heart, brain, joints. But why fertility specifically?
It comes down to physics. Think about what a cell is. It's a membrane, a wrapper. And that wrapper needs to be fluid and flexible, not hard and rigid.
I see.
Omega-3s integrate into the cell membrane to keep it fluid.
Okay, so for women, what does that do?
For women, 1 to 2 grams daily improves blood flow to the ovaries, which is crucial for nutrient delivery. But it also supports that cell membrane integrity. The source links this to better implantation rates.
And for the guys, this is where I imagine fluidity is even more important.
It is critical. Think about fertilization. The sperm membrane literally has to fuse with the egg membrane. It's a merger.
Right.
If those membranes are stiff or rigid because of a lack of healthy fats, fertilization can't happen.
It physically bounces off.
Essentially, yes. Or the fusion is incomplete. Plus, omega-3s reduce inflammation, which is a major enemy of sperm production.
Next up is vitamin D. The source says everyone seems deficient.
It is a global issue. But for fertility, vitamin D acts almost like a hormone. It's not just a vitamin. For women, getting that level up with 2,000 to 4,000 IU daily is linked to optimizing follicular development.
And I saw it's linked to AMH levels, too.
Yes, higher vitamin D often correlates with better AMH levels and better IVF success. For men, while the text doesn't give it a hero monologue like it does for women, the general principle holds.
Sure.
If your vitamin D is low, your cellular processes are lagging.
Okay, let's talk about DNA defense. Because all this energy and structure doesn't matter if the blueprints, the DNA, are damaged.
And this is where folate comes in.
Yeah.
But the expert source is very specific.
Mm-hmm.
It should be methylfolate.
That's the active form, right? Not just generic folic acid. Why the distinction? I see folic acid in cereals and bread all the time.
That distinction matters. It matters because a large portion of the population has a genetic variation, the MTHFR gene mutation, that makes it hard to process generic folic acid.
So you can't use it.
Right. If you can't process it, it doesn't do the job.
Right.
Methylfolate is bioavailable. It's ready for the body to use immediately, regardless of your genetics.
And what is the body using it for?
DNA synthesis.
Yeah.
You literally cannot build new DNA without it. For women, 400 to 800 micrograms is non-negotiable for preventing neural tube defects.
Spina bifida, yeah.
But it's also needed to create the genetic material for the egg itself.
And for men.
This is huge.
Yeah.
A lack of folate is directly linked to that sperm DNA fragmentation we talked about earlier. Folate supports DNA methylation, which is a process that stabilizes the DNA.
So methylfolate is the site formin ensuring the blueprints are being read correctly and aren't getting torn up.
Yes. And finally, to protect those blueprints, we have the antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin E, and selenium.
These are the bodyguards.
They are. Their entire job is to neutralize free radicals.
I always hear about free radicals. It sounds like some kind of political group. What are they actually doing to the egg and sperm?
Imagine rust. Oxidative stress is essentially biological rusting. It happens when unstable molecules steal electrons from your healthy cells, and this rusting damages the cell membrane and pairs up the DNA.
And I read that sperm are sitting ducks for this.
They are particularly vulnerable. Most cells have a lot of cytoplasm, the jelly inside the cell that contains repair mechanisms. Sperm have almost no cytoplasm. They travel light.
Right.
So once a sperm is made, it can't fix itself. If it gets rusted, it stays rusted.
So the antioxidants take the hit so the sperm doesn't have to.
Precisely. The source recommends selenium at 200 micrograms for men specifically to shield sperm from this stress. And vitamin C at hefty doses of 500 to 1,000 milligrams is shown to reduce that DNA fragmentation we're so worried about.
It's amazing how these common vitamins, when you use them at these specific therapeutic doses, become powerful drugs, essentially.
Nutraceuticals really is the right word. They're bridging that gap. We're using nutrients, but we're using them like pharmaceuticals to force a biological change.
So let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground, and I want to synthesize this for the listener who is maybe standing in the supplement aisle right now.
Let's break it down.
If we look at this biohack stack, it really comes down to 3 pillars.
Right. Pillar 1 is energy. That's your CoQ10 and L-carnitine. You have to power the machinery so the chromosomes split correctly and the sperm can swim.
Pillar 2 is structure.
That's your omega-3s and zinc, building strong fluid cell walls and proper shapes.
And pillar 3 is protection.
The antioxidants and folate, keeping the DNA safe from damage, from errors, and from that oxidative rust.
It's a comprehensive strategy, and what I love is that the Berkeley Center Review emphasizes this isn't just folklore. This is backed by meta-analyses up to 2025.
That is the key takeaway.
Yeah.
We often think of fertility as a lottery. You either have it or you don't. Or we think it's just about age, and age is undefeated.
Right.
But this research suggests we have more agency than we think.
Agency is a powerful word there.
It is. We can intervene. We can improve the quality of the genetic material, not just accept the quantity we're left with.
That leads me to a thought I want to leave our listeners with. We talk so much about age-related decline, we accept it as inevitable, but listening to this, I have to wonder.
What's that?
If the egg and sperm are just cells that are heavily dependent on mitochondrial energy, how much of aging is actually just a power failure?
That is a profound question. We tend to conflate chronological age, the years on the calendar, with biological age.
And if it is just a power failure, maybe we really can just recharge the battery.
The science certainly suggests we can keep the lights on a little longer than we thought.
A hopeful note to end on. If you want to dive into the specific dosages again, because I know we threw a lot of numbers at you, check out the source material. It's dense, but worth it.
Absolutely. Knowledge is the best fertility treatment there is.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Take care of your mitochondria, and we'll catch you next time.